Welcome to episode 491 of Fourth and Jawn. I'm Gail Saunders here with Evan Hollywood Hearn and Mr. Tim Armstrong. And today is the SEC Script podcast. It's all about the SEC script. If you see all over socials, people have got different graphics up of how Howie has followed the Bama and the Bulldogs, and now we have this big SEC family. There's other colleges sprinkled in there, but it's all about the SEC script. But that's shout out to Mark Bird because he's been saying that for probably 5 years. So it's all because of Mark Bird that we're here with our team. But I just overall, I just think the night was surprising. I'm going to say it was very surprising. A lot of prospects that we were hoping that would be there. Some actually fell. Some of the safeties, like even Worry's still on the board. Malachi Starks, a fan favorite, off the board. James Pierce went a little earlier. I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that. And then Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. A lot of people were just like, I think that was a consensus of all the people. I ended up talking to Dave Spadaro before the draft, and they had like this little room where they had a little toast before the draft. He gave like this like hoorah speech, and then he was like, he's like, the only guy that the Eagles are moving up for is Walter Nolan. He told me, and he said that the Eagles weren't going to trade. There's a possibility, most likely, the Eagles aren't trading Dallas Goedert, and Lurie wants him back. So,
is that you think that still stands today?
I mean, there's a good shot, man. I just feel like they want to get him back at a cheaper rate, and I feel like the way he was saying it, he made me feel good about myself. I was like, Spuds, that is great news. But just in general, just talking about the man of the hour, Jihaad Campbell. I was, some people have asked me, they're like, hey, like you guys hardly talked about Jihaad Campbell. I was like, I didn't think he'd even fall to us. Like the fact that, we mentioned him a little bit, but I said he wouldn't fall to us. But the thing about the breaking the linebacker curse, well, you said call it a curse. I think he's a linebacker with an asterisk who's got edge rushing ability, and I think that he is that hybrid type. And I think if you're looking at Mike Parsons as someone that he could have that skill set for Fangio's defense. I think Fangio knows what he wants, and I think he got his guy. What say you, Evan, Mr. Frozen? I think Evan's neighbors found out that he's using their Wi-Fi.
I think you're correct. I mean, last night was a lot of fun. Go ahead.
So, like you said, it's not a guy that.
Hear you now, buddy. Go ahead, Tim.
I did not think in any way, shape, or form.
Dealing with body Wi-Fi here. Yeah.
Go ahead, Tim.
I'm going to start talking again, and then this thing's going to connect. I didn't have him on any of my hopeful projections or anything like that because I did not think he was going to fall to us. I didn't. I know that Rack Shack was texting me and saying, this is the guy, this is the guy. I just thought we would have to move up way too much to pick him up. And then as soon as we saw him as an option, and I was reading and watching all kinds of stuff today, apparently the reason why Kansas City made the trade with us is because the Eagles were getting whispers that Kansas City was willing to move back into the second round. And they didn't want somebody else sniping Jihaad Campbell. So for all the people out there, why did they move up one spot? What was the mindset on that? Apparently Kansas City was willing to shop from what I read. And that was a reaction.
My thing is like giving up a fifth round. It was the 164, like to secure your guy. If it was whatever to make Fangio happy to get his guy, I mean, it's a perfect situation. It's a 5th-round pick. I'm not upset. Some people are like, why do you just give up? I'm like, bro, we got the guy they wanted. And when Howie mentioned about some of these prospects not particularly being a first round talent, Jihaad Campbell was first round talent. Obviously the torn labrum. You like the fact that he did the combine and with a torn labrum. He was just like, they asked him like, how'd you do the combine with a torn labrum? You did everything. He's like, yeah. He's like, God did, So I'm excited. I'm excited to have him in the building. After watching a lot of his interviews, I'm like, thank God we got a guy that gets it. Have you watched it? Have you watched a ton of his interviews yet?
Yeah, I started last night, this morning, and while I was on conference calls and I wasn't talking, I was watching film and interviews. He seems like somebody that fits the mold of the team that we've built so far and are going to continue to run with. The way he feels about the game, the way he responds to and gets excited about talking about the sport, that you want guys treating this like a game and excited, not like it is a business and you have to make your money, but it's still a game. You're getting paid to play a game that people would kill for. So you can still see that excitement when he talks in his interviews, which is just, it's awesome to see. And I feel like a lot of players on our team, even the vets, still feel that way about the game of football, which I think is a fantastic.
I mean, I like the fact that it's always a bonus. I feel like it's like, a little cherry on top. They're Eagles fans, and he's a diehard Eagle fan, and he was rattling off all the players that he loved and liked and whatnot. But I felt like he genuinely, his family, they got to be excited. I mean, they got to be ecstatic. He grew up close to here,
South Jersey.
So, hey, we got another Eagle fan who's playing for the Eagles. There's a lot of Trotter out there, also in the linebacker core, also former Eagle. Who else is an Eagle fan that is actually playing on the Eagles? Do you know of any?
Actual Jahan Dotson.
Oh, was he an Eagle fan?
Mm-hmm. Jahan Dotson was a Eagles fan.
Shout out to everybody in the chat. I know Mr. King Kunta in the building. He says, "Squad, what's good?" We got Alex Lean in the house. We got the upstate New York people in here. Shout out to Caesar. He said, "What's up, fella? What's up, fellas? Great pick yesterday." Big Bro says, "Good afternoon, gentlemen." Caesar says, "A little concerned with his injuries. I think I'm wondering. I mean, the whole time in the draft, while watching the draft, I kept on saying like, why is he still on the board?"
It's a labrum. It's a labrum for his position. Knee would concern me more than a labrum. You know what I mean? Like ankle, knee, something like that. I have no idea why he fell. Have you seen anything or any rationale on why he just kept falling?
Well, I mean,
injury.
If teams don't believe that his shoulder is worse off, like some analysts were saying that he could be a possible pup situation.
I don't know. When he smacked that board, he seemed kind of all right. When he got it pumped up and he smacked that Eagles logo, everything seemed moving all right.
I'm wondering where he's at. He said he's good. He said in his own words, he says, "I'm Gucci." Okay, if that makes you feel any better. Peasy says he's hyped. It's AF for Campbell. Rack Shack is talking about Hollywood Hearn's technical difficulties. Hey man, the man just moved into his house. Okay, you pay that. You give that man some respect. Kiku just says Fangio found his Van Ginkel, and I think you got Bond who has that ability, but I think in terms of if you listen to him at the combine talk about his abilities, the fact that he says like I could drop back in a tempo too and like surprise teams with his speed and his ability in coverage. He moved well. Did you watch him in the combine?
I did watch him in the combine, and I didn't see anything that would bring up red flags. I mean, I get they trust the medicals. We should probably wish Evan was here to give his take on that, but he looked good. And Baldy posted a breakdown of him, and it was a fantastic breakdown, just showing his ability sideline to sideline. Like, he's going to fit this mold on the Fangio defense. I think he's going to slide right in seamlessly.
You know, the thing about I just have to just say it. The way that this Eagles defense has gotten younger, faster, better, and cheaper in the last couple drafts is crazy. The fact that you hit on Quignon, you hit on Cooper DeJean, you hit on Jalen Carter, you've now added Jihaad Campbell to the mix, and at a reasonable price. Obviously, Jalen Carter, we're going to have to pay the price on there. I mean, Jordan Davis, I don't know if they're paying that price, but just the fact that, you know, you move off of a Fletcher Cox, you go to Jalen Carter, you move off of Milton Williams, Moro Jomo, 7th round contract. You know, that's marbles right now. I think you've seen what all these cornerbacks are getting paid out here in the market. Buku bucks. We got two corners at a reasonably cheap rate.
At least for the next 3 years, next 3 seasons. No doubt about it. I mean, there were some picks that really surprised me last night. The tight end going before Tyler Warren. Oh, he lives.
Yeah, I ran from next door. Luckily, my girlfriend's parents live next door, and that's whose Wi-Fi I was stealing. I was thinking I was going to be able to get away with doing it next door in the empty house, but turns out no. Sorry to jump in the middle of the conversation, but now that I can actually hear what the conversation is, I just want to talk on Jihaad first. I mean, you mentioned, Gail, how this is not a guy that's been brought up in discussions much during this draft process. Not really a guy we've had our eye on. I think for a multitude of reasons. One being that nobody pictured him falling as far as he did in this first round. I mean, there was a lot of analysts out there that had him as a top 10, top 15 talent. And for him to fall all the way down, almost out of the first round, is pretty crazy. But also on top of that, just the normal Howie Roseman that we're used to, it's not usually a linebacker. It's not usually a safety. It's not usually those types of positions that they go after in the first round. So Howie continuing to buck the trend of what he's been doing recently. I love it. I mean, you went and you got the number 1 linebacker in this draft, another SEC guy, a guy that I think is going to be able to just fill right in and have an immediate impact the same way that Cooper DeJean did when he entered in the beginning, midway through the year after he got fully healthy. Medical wise, they talk about it was like a torn labrum, I believe, is what he's dealing with. And I mean, Mr. Medicals has done his research on what goes into that. And it's from what I've seen, if on the absolute longest term of returning to sports activity after surgery, it's like a 3 to 6 month thing. And he got surgery for it back in March. So hoping that he's going to be good to go with a professional trainers and just having everybody around him. We're hoping that the beginning of that 3 months is where he'll be able to start working out and everything. So I know the Eagles do their due diligence on this type of thing. Personality wise, he seems like a leader. He seems like a guy that is exactly the personality type you want in this locker room. And I'm excited, man. He looks like a beast. He is a thick dude, bro. When he stood up, I was like, Jesus, he's big. And it was pretty funny that I'm not sure about you guys, but the first person I noticed was Nicole Lynn when he got drafted. Yeah. And I was like, all right, there's the connection right there. That's the Nicole Lynn connection. She's been bringing us a lot of talent from college. So I dig it.
Not mad at it.
I'm not mad at the. It's just like that kind of, Yeah, like again, man, I just listened to him speak, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I need. This is what we need in the locker room. More leaders, leaders of men. But John Russell 215 says, why are we not worried about cornerback starting alongside Q? Amos would be my pick, huge and can body up taller wide receivers. Or do the Birds like Winston from PSU? Ringo can't be the starter. Well, my thing with the corners, right? I mean, Adoree Jackson is a solid vet that it obviously you want to see what Ringo see if he can come and if he can compete for the position. But if you have Adoree Jackson here, a solid vet, I think Amos would be a solid piece to bring in if they feel like they're okay at the position at cornerback. See
Does
them
the
go
Will Johnson knee injury scare you? I honestly picture today being similar to last year. I could see the Eagles trading into that around that 40 spot near the top of the second round. I mean, they've still got assets between this year and next year, and on top of that, like there's still a lot of talent at the top of this second round of the draft. You could find another guy that will give you another immediate impact, and so. When you talk about Amos, when we talk about guys like Will Johnson still being available, I know that the knee is scaring a lot of people off of Will Johnson. That's why he fell. But eventually, like someone's got to take a flyer on like the potential that he brings, right? Like,
Mhm.
I,
Well, Albert Breer, he said like a lot of teams flagged the knee, and they said the knee issue is not like supposed to affect him in the short term, but his longevity is in question.
got you.
And then they said on top of on top of that issue, Johnson missed time due to a shoulder and toe injuries from last season, and then he had a hamstring injury that held him out of Michigan's pro day.
Mm-hmm.
So being
Either
available,
way,
but if they see something like uh, with the knee, who's the other cornerback who fell? Caleb from Virginia Tech. That 1 year he had like knee issues, and then they get drafted by Tennessee Titans. But then
We took a flyer.
he gets hurt.
We took a flyer a couple of years ago on a guy in the second round with a knee injury. Everybody remember how that
I had his jersey.
Oh, he had Achilles, man.
It was Achilles. That's right. I'm sorry. But
Yeah.
the flyer, I get where the flyer, but at this point, just based on what Howie said when he came up to speak last night, he's tightening this window. Like he's only looking at players that he wants to fill roles from when he spoke, because he said he saw only 10 players that were first talent caliber players in the first round. There's 32 picks, and he evaluated them and said he only saw 10. That tells you how much faith he has in his scouts. That tells you. So if the player that he or the group has on the board, I agree with you, Evan. I would not be shocked with the Capitol if we snuck up a little bit, if there's still somebody on the board.
Yeah. And that's what is your guys' thoughts on the trade last night? Because to move one spot, I thought was a little bit weird. I mean, you go and get your guy. I guess the mentality is you don't exactly know who Kansas City's going to take, and so you want to. But like, don't you think that's on the? Don't you think that's on the conversation? Like when you call them, like who are you guys thinking right here? And then like, you know what I mean? Like
the Chiefs GM was trained underneath Howie, so it's not like their conversations are, like that's not like that conversation isn't a weird conversation. It could be like, hey, we got other people calling. What is the best that you can give us? And he's like throwing a fifth rounder and the deal's yours. I feel like that's the guy he mentored. So Howie's got some good relationships across the league, and that's why I feel like it's unfair because he has feelers throughout the whole damn league that he can just either.
And I was listening to stuff today, Evan, and reports where whether he took his Howie training and used it to the best of his advantage. But apparently there was other teams that were speaking with Kansas City. Apparently Kansas City thought they could get their guy if they moved back. So there was a conversation of them trading with somebody and going back in the second round and have somebody jump. So the Eagles, by trading that fifth round, locked themselves in for their player.
Right.
So
right.
That hasn't been locked in concrete, but there was a couple reports saying that.
So I mean, the one of the biggest things I think everybody after Nolan went off the board, Pierce went off the board. I think everyone was collectively thinking Donovan Ezeraku. Um, he's on that list, but didn't put his last name. But Donovan Ezeraku from Boston College, edge. Um, I think in terms of like you're hoping that your edge comes in with power. Like this is, I think when you think about Jihaad Campbell, he's got the power. He's got the, I think he's got the explosiveness that you're excited about. I saw some reps against Will Campbell where he had him, gave him some fits. So I like that. I mean, coming out of high school, Jihaad Campbell was an edge rusher and also a wide receiver. I was watching some of his high school games. I was like, dude's playing wide receiver out here.
Extremely athletic guy, and that's what like kind of makes me wonder how he's going to be utilized in this. And I'm not trying to play devil's advocate here, but like similarly reminds me of a player like a what the hell was his name? Jabril Peppers, where he has this kind of hybrid type of position. Miles Jack, I think, was another guy that was like kind of like a hybrid type of guy.
Linebacker, running back.
Yeah. Well, what? Yeah, I'm just saying, like, when you get those guys, is there any fear of getting a jack of all trades, master of none type of thing? Or do you think that he's just such a dominant athlete that no matter whether we put them in the edge or whether he's playing coverage, he's going to excel equally?
I think I'm not. I think this is positionless football where at its peak but you have to have the players to actually with the skill set to actually do that, like the Zach Bonds of the world that who can he showed that he could do that. He showed that in the first game when he got 2 sacks. He showed that he can pick balls off. But I think seeing him move in space, I mean, in coverage, we're talking about in coverage, like his measurables were, if you look at some of the guys that he measured up to in the combine, Fred Warner. Fred Warner was a guy, 6'3", 3/8. Jihaad Campbell was 6'2", 7/8. Weight 235. Fred Warner 236. Arm 32 for Warner, 32.5 for Campbell, 4.52 in the 40 for Campbell, and Fred Warner was a 4.64 guy. So I mean, in terms of his RAS score, which was interesting, some of the people that they compared him to, Oren Burks was his RAS.
You know what's funny is how the RAS score seems like it has taken such a front seat in the Eagles draft process, where this is something that I feel like you bring up RAS score like 5-6 years ago. I feel like it was something that was like a made up internet metric.
Well, they used to, when NBC, they all our guys would, the RAS stuff, and I was like, what the hell is the RAS stuff? RAS score? What is this? And then it's become a thing, dude. And that's the thing where it's like, his RAS score was a 9.88. Elite in composite speed grade. He had a broad jump, 9.65. His weight was the only thing that he got dinged for, which was at 235, and he had pretty good height. He had really good height. But some other guys that were in the same comps for Jihaad Campbell, Kenneth Murray, he had a 9.86. Malik Jefferson, he had a 9.82. Oren Burks with a 9.80, and then Quarter Coughlin, 9.81. I don't even know who that is, but I mean, talking about this. I mean, today we have new blood, right? By the way, we're gonna do whoever's around. We're gonna do we're just gonna watch the draft together, and just watch the draft together. And yeah, you guys want to jump on the show? Shout out to Eric, who not only helps you out at tailgates sometimes with cheesesteaks. He jumped in the other day and was throwing nuggets, driving like
Spitting
some,
some facts.
somebody rolled up on me yesterday. He said, "Hey, I just want to. Is that guy that was on the podcast? Was he driving like 80 on the highway?" Just rolled up. uh, but when I want to first give out some gifts. Okay, you guys ready for that?
Love that. Yeah.
We have some gifts that I'm giving out tonight. So anyone who's joining us on the live stream tonight, I will be giving a signed autograph. We'll do some kind of game. All right, signed Chauncey Gardner Johnson autographed. Okay,
Very cool.
so all you have to do is we'll come up with some. I know he's gone, but not forgotten. Okay,
I thought you were going to give away AJ's car on stream.
almost. You know, I still shout out to Tim Kincaid. I know I got your Zach Bowen helmet. I will send one of these days. But Ev, I had to hit you off with a little something.
Oh yeah,
A little Zach Bowen.
my man.
But
The
we
bald
also,
eagle.
we also
Love
says the
that.
bald eagle.
I can't wait till you see the next one.
So then Reed Blankenship,
Okay.
and then
What's up, Reed?
The milk missile.
he signed.
Let's go.
He signed the milk
That's
missile.
awesome.
He signed the
Was he aware of that name prior to you telling him that, or how did he react to it?
I was like, he's like, yeah, I was you signing, and I was like, could you sign the milk missile? And he looked up at me, and was like, the milk missile. I was like, yo, I was like, that's what we call you on our pod. He's like, okay. He's like, he starts laughing. He's like, I like it. I like it. And then I'm getting Zach Bourne to sign it, and Zach is like, who is the milk missile? I was like, Reed Blankenship. He's like, he starts rolling. But it was a good time.
Awesome.
Shout out to Mel. Shout out to Mel for hooking that up.
Big shout out to Mel.
with the,
Well, I got a gift last night that I'm kind of excited about. I will not be giving this away. Frank Atwood was at the Super Bowl.
Confetti.
And I have Super Bowl from the field confetti. Gift to me. Very excited. Was very
Nice.
pumped. Thanks, Frank. Appreciate it. Frank
Still
Atwood.
looking for that. I'm still looking for that Super Bowl confetti.
Rack Shack talking about how the biggest shock for him last night was the Bears taking Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren. I have a friend that's a Bears fan. I texted him after. I was like, death, taxes, and the Bears drafting a tight end high, man. Like, how many tight ends have they drafted high in the past 5-6 years, man? I feel like they always are overloading with tight ends.
I think they're two different. I think it was really pick your poison. And I felt like one was more polished route runner. So if they felt like,
But didn't Komet ball out for them last year? Like, what was the need for tight end this year?
I mean, if you really want a killer 2 tight end set, maybe.
I just think that a team's basement, as long as the Bears would look for a bigger need than a tight end.
Well, maybe their line is in such bad shape that they're hoping they have 2 outlets for Caleb Williams on the quick outs, 2 tight ends from quick outs, just dump it off.
Kelly Wilson says, all the way from Texas, he says, do you all think the Eagles think we have a potential starter in Louis? I think they're just trying to see what they have in him, see what he has left in the tank.
Yeah, I think they're anticipating him just being a rotational guy at this point. I think get some work in special teams, but I don't think they're banking on him to be their starting safety by any means. I still think that I saw a lot of people panicking after Malachi Starks went off the board last night. It's like, our starting safeties are Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown. It's like, dude, we've got the entire rest of the draft. We got the entire rest of the offseason. Justin Simmons is still available.
Draft's not over.
Take a chill pill. It'll be all right.
Draft's not over.
Nicky Memwari's still sitting there. Like, you could go get him. Like, there's options.
Shout out to Rachel. We were watching it with her, and she was like, she was loving the Malachi Starks. And I was like, look, we had to talk off the ledge a little bit. But shout out to Peasy. I love talking ball with my fam too, man.
Yeah, man.
Shout out to cousin Kiki in the building. Um, Peasy talks about defense is going to be versatile next year. Think about all the pieces, like interchangeable pieces. I think, and then when you think about all our prospects that we got, like we didn't think Quinyon Mitchell would be there. We didn't think
Mhm.
Jalen Carter would be there. We didn't think Nolan Smith would be there. We also didn't think Cooper DeJean would be there. But we got him, and we did.
I was looking at, and I mean, there's a lot of conversation too that I've seen, which is great to see. Talking about how the youth movement on the Eagles defense as well, and like how old is Bond? Is Bond like now the old statesman on that defense? He's like
Is he
27,
27?
right? Yeah, I think he's the oldest guy on the defense at 27. I was looking at you talk about our options at corner and stuff like that. Dude, it's crazy to think Keely Ringo is going into what, year 3 on this team and he's only 22 years old. Like he is still so young and so much time to develop ahead of him. Like anybody
And
that's writing Keely Ringo off at this point, like he's 22 years old. There's a lot of guys coming out right now that are older than that. So
there's a guy projected to go in the second round who has 3 years on him.
exactly. That's what I mean. Like there's plenty of time for development here.
Um, Now Donnie says I love Campbell's versatility, but unless he bulks up, I think he's too small to be a full time edge rusher. But you also know they if the Eagles believe that he has that ability and they want him to play at a heavier weight, he has the ability on his frame. Scouts believe that he can put more weight on that. You know what I'm saying? So if you put him at he's at what 235 right now, he probably could probably play at 245, another
Right.
10 pounds. Keep the speed. I mean, did you watch him run the four? Like he ran that 4.5 with ease. Not like we're talking about big dude. We're not talking like like a wide receiver. Although he played wide receiver, he ran that 40 like an athlete, which is
I th- I think one of the more impressive things that they were just showing from his highlight reel after he got drafted last night um, was just that I think it's called the reaction drill at the combine or whatever. But when you're backpedaling and then they're just directing you, go left, go right, forward, backward, wherever, and you just have to react accordingly. And you see how he backpedals and how fluidly he moves, and it looks natural. Like you think about guys like Devontae Smith on the other side of the ball, and when you watch Devontae Smith run, he just glides, man. Like it looks so effortless and so natural, and he's flying. And I think that Jihaad Campbell, you look at how he moves, and it's very similar. Everything is very fluid, and there's no mistaken motion.
now. Shout out to David Pops. He says, in my opinion, Howie gets calls from teams trying to trade up to get him. Howie calls Chiefs and locks in players he wants. That's Howie cooking. Now, 843 Philly fan says, do you think Howie made that trade to get Jihad because the Ravens took Malachi Starks?
Um,
I
I
don't.
mean, I don't think one thing had to do with the other. I think that the way that it sounds like the Eagles were talking about Jihad, unless they're just like trying to um, hype up him even more. It sounds like the Eagles were after Jihad that entire night. Like once he started falling, like once Jihad started falling out of the range where they thought he was going to get drafted. I'm not sure if you guys heard Howie Roseman say it, but in the call with him, he's like, "We've been trying to get you for an hour." I'm like, it sounds like he
Yeah, I
was
was just going
making
to say
calls with
that.
a lot of teams trying to move up to get Jihad, and so I don't know. I don't know where Malachi Starks was on their board, but if I'm being honest, just based off of everything that I saw, I would say that they had Jihad higher on their board than they had Starks.
Mark Bird chimes in from Oregon. He says, "What's up, champs?" This SE script once again. I mean, we're talking Tyler Steen. We're talking Jordan Davis. We're talking Landon Dickerson. We're talking Jalen Hurts by way of Alabama and Oklahoma. We're talking Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter. We're talking Keely Ringo. We're talking Ojulari also.
Mm-hmm.
Any other Eli Ricks?
I mean,
Any other Bama SEC guys? SEC guys?
AJ
not off
Brown.
the top of my head. What's it? Yeah.
Oh, look at all the young talent, dude! It's crazy, man. It is so crazy.
And you think about too, like it's not just young talent, but what else have we been absolutely struggling with the past few years in all the years that we've been successful recently? Losing coordinators. And to be able to hold on to Vic Fangio, who was an excellent coordinator for us last year, who brought us from the 30th ranked defense to the number 1 ranked defense. You have a young core on that team. Screw the young core. You have the entirety of the defense is young. And you're going into year 2 of a system where you're able to, instead of everybody has to, learn and get familiar with this new coordinator, there's already that familiarity there with the vets and Vic Fangio. There's no getting to know you period. So it's great, man. We are in such a great position.
It's going to be seamless. I mean, these guys are going to slide in. These guys that are only going into year 2 are going to this is your role. This is what they're going to be asked to do. Mm-hmm. And that's the key with the younger guys coming in. I mean, I've said it to you guys before. I think the only time Fangio's defense doesn't work if somebody tries to fight against the current. If you're trying to fight against the current, it doesn't work.
Let me ask you guys a tough question now, though. So let's just assume that all things are great and all injuries are healed. Everybody's going into the season healthy. Now, all of a sudden, we got a little bit of a logjam at linebacker. What does this mean for Nakobe Dean?
I think the writing is on the wall for Nakobe in terms of long term. Do they think he can stay healthy? It's year in, year out that he's had injuries, and it's one thing to be, injury here, but it's when you get the injury prone tag on you, and they again, it's an investment. So if as a leader, I think he's been a quiet leader in that people don't talk about him and his leadership ability last year and how important it was, but a lot of people talk about how much of a impact he had as a leader. So I think if he's not going to be available for a long time, could be half the season, you have a guy that can come in. Hopefully he's not going to be injured for too long. He said he's Gucci, but Gucci is not a Evan Hollywood Hearn medical report. That is
that's an opinion.
Yeah. When Nakobe Dean coming out of college, what was his biggest slight? Was undersized.
Injury. I mean, that was how I ended up getting the name Mr. Medicals, is because I was at the Eagles Autism Awareness. I asked Nakobe about his knee.
Prime actually went up to Nakobe yesterday, and he said I didn't ask him about the medicals. I just asked him how he's doing, and he said he's doing pretty good. So Prime was.
He was like, "Thank God you don't got Evan with you."
Yeah, Evan would have had his notepad out.
Put that on my chart real quick.
A lot of people talking. Eric and Racksack you speak my language with Makuba. I love the idea of Makuba. If you added him into the mix, that's a lot of juice. That is a lot. A lot of the field was getting covered. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of the field is getting covered. I feel good with that.
I want to just I'm not trying to beat the Dean thing into the ground, but just trying to get a more legitimate answer. If you just had to take a pick, do you think that Nakobe Dean, if everybody's healthy, is starting this year, and then Jihaad would kind of maybe steal snaps from him as the year goes on, or do you think Jihaad has the potential to be a day one starter?
if all is good with the shoulder, I think he has the potential to start right away.
Okay. I agree.
But I also think he feels an immediate need as a you could make him a DPR because I'm now using that term because all the other analysts are like DPR.
With
Yeah.
DPR.
Well,
Designated pass rusher.
Oh,
Well, he wouldn't be a designated pass rusher, but he'd be a rotational pass rusher, an RPR.
an RPR.
You know, like the way that they use Michael Parsons and whatnot. So I think I'm cool with that, man. I'm really excited.
I mean, I think that DeJean didn't start the beginning of last year. And I don't think it was because of athletic ability. It could have been where he fit into the system. I think Nakobe Dean, if he's healthy, I think he starts. But I think that snaps will be taken relatively quickly because of Jihad's talent.
Yeah.
He's a freak.
Speaking of excited, you know who else was excited last night?
Is that
This guy. This guy was all over the TV yesterday.
I can say they're excited about what Jihaad Campbell will add to the Eagles defense.
We've lost some players this season, and they've gone into free agency. But overall, I think Jawn Campbell is somebody that will make an impact this year overall.
This guy's explosive. He's an athlete. I think he's got to refine his game. But we got a good player, man. And Alabama's one of the better teams out there playing, and he was on there, and he did a lot.
is Wilmington by Wilmington?
Did you see that, Wilmington? Wilmington, Delaware?
Very cool though. Very cool.
It was funny
I've never seen Prime pawn something off so quick. They walked up to him with the mask, and Prime just goes, "They'll talk."
because half the people up there were like, I don't know anything about this guy. I'm just here to be here, and I'm like, we'll talk.
I was asking the people next to me, I'm like, so who do you think? I gave him like the broad offense or defense. And this guy looked at me and goes, I don't watch college football. I said, fair enough. Have a good one.
I got a lot of that. Like I was speaking Mandarin, Chinese. Like I was like, who do you want next?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It was funny because then they put up the board and you were like, oh, there's a lot of defensive players up there. It's like, well, it's a defensive heavy draft. They're like, oh, okay. And then you sit there and stare at it, and it's like, this is awkward. Like, I want to talk to somebody. I'd go to Gail, and I was amped up. I thought this was.
Well, I mean, that was Gail's one gripe with the draft party.
I mean, I did have fun hanging out with everyone. I got to see a lot of the tailgate homies were there. Just randomly, we were bumping into everybody. Shout out to Jordan Spector, ran into him and his lovely fiance. It was just a good time, man. I mean, I wasn't expecting too much, but I had more fun than expected. And then when we come out with the Jihaad Campbell, I'm like, it's good. We're rolling to day 2 with house money.
When you initially got word that there was a trade, I'm assuming you thought that the Eagles were trading out of the first, right? Was there that thought in your mind, like, God damn, we waited around all night to trade out?
Well, I saw that they traded, and I was like, oh shit, they traded out. And then I saw another message. Like, no, they're trading up.
When Shador was falling, I was honestly starting to think that was going to be the thing. I thought that like once it got to the Eagles, it was good. They were going to trade out for a team that wanted to be able to stick a 5th-year option on a quarterback, and then they trade up for Shador. But I'm happy with how it played out.
The Jackson Dart thing, I thought it was Jackson Dart when they traded up.
Mm-hmm.
People were like, oh, is it for Shador? I'm like, nah, this is for Jackson Dart.
Mm-hmm.
And the people had asked me about the mustache bet. This was we actually changed it to Madden, so the game is on the
convenient.
Because me and Prime had talked about this. We were like, he's like, we did change it to a Madden bet, but
I would have won.
I mean, he was right about him falling out, and my thing is when I look at the Shador Sanders situation, I just think like when players don't go to I think you could have went to the Senior Bowl. You could have like lit up the Senior Bowl practices. You could have like really just elevated your stock and continue to like check the boxes and then go to the combine and actually work out and not like your father ran that 40 time and he's like I'm good, I don't need to do, but your father was just a different breed of
His dad's one of the greatest football players that's ever stepped foot on the field. And that's kind of where I stood with Prime on this, is that like, how often is it that an all-time great player has a son that lives up to even a fraction of that potential? And I'm not saying that Shador Sanders doesn't have a place in the league. My thought process with it is I think that he had done some impressive things in college, but he also like didn't really blow anything out of the water in college either. And so I think that I get that he didn't have many things to work with and yada, yada, yada. But I can't in my true heart of hearts think honestly that he isn't being talked about more simply because of his name. And that's what it came down to.
my thing is I think he did some great things in terms of like recruiting and getting players to come and as a leader, recruiting people to come play at Colorado, playing at Jackson State. I think his career path was super interesting, but I feel like they ran things. The Prime ran things the way they set things up. I'm like, I don't know. I think the NFL world could have looked at his situation as like, maybe he was being a little coddled too much in terms of like his way or like the way that the conversation, the narrative with like teams that were picking in the top 10. I don't know, like we're going to kind of like Eli Manning this thing when if Shador Sanders had a little bit more mobility, I think that would help his cause. He's not the most mobile QB of the world, but I think he's got an opportunity to go to a team now.
He for sure does, but like my thought process was if this was just Joe Schmo and he'd had the exact same college career, would he be talked about as a first round option? I don't think so. I think that he's being carried by the Sanders name.
I think in this draft class, he still would be considered. I don't think there'd be nearly as much hype. The cameras wouldn't be switched to his watch party and all that stuff. I agree with you 110% there. I think just the depth of quarterback this year, I think he would be.
Yeah, it's lacking.
Yeah.
This reminds me of the EJ Manuel draft, if I'm being real with you.
Yeah. Jake Locker.
Yeah, but I do think Cam Ward, like I think he's, above and far beyond the best of the group. And we'll see where the rest of the group is. Obviously, Jalen Milroe still around. So we'll see where he goes. Can
I float something by you guys? And because it got laughed at years ago when it first got brought up, but now that I see the vision of it, like I'm for it. Like I feel like I'm in the minority with this type of decision, but I think that there is a market out there for Tanner McKee, and there's so many Eagles fans that are like, no, you don't do that. But Howie Roseman literally talked about years ago making the Eagles a QB factory. Tanner McKee did well in the preseason. What is stopping us from trading him for his heightened value that I don't think will ever be higher? Because he is what he is. He's not going to become a starter on this team. Jalen Hurts is here. Why not trade Tanner McKee and then take another quarterback day 3, and then you develop him and you just complete the process over and over again. You increase your value.
I mean, I was in my earliest of mocks. If Jalen Milroe was in the mid rounds, I would bring him in as also, I mean, as a runner, as a running talent, he's got that ability. I think you know,
See, that's my thing with
wasn't wasn't too hot down there. So, but I think the
I
athletic.
don't think Tanner McKee is an irreplaceable piece, is what I'm saying. Like when I bring up trading Tanner McKee, like all these people like, why would you do that? And it's like he's the backup quarterback.
I do. I love
whatever.
Tanner McKee. I do.
I like Tanner McKee a lot, but the only thing that always scares me about Tanner McKee is the fact he is a different quarterback than Jalen Hurts. If we've game planned for an entire week and Hurts goes down mid-game and the game plan is just
You have to
out the
switch
window,
game plan. Right.
it's completely upside. So if you want to draft somebody who has a similar skill set to Jalen Hurts and get some value for Tanner McKee, I know Gail feels a certain way about it, but I don't disagree with you at all.
I have heard the Nick Foles story, and I have to tell you, John, greetings and salutations, by the way, that Nick Foles is one of one, man. You can't just assume that Tanner McKee, because he's a tall white backup, he can win a Super Bowl as a like.
My
Nick
thing
Foles,
is
that was historic. Like,
you
that
call
was-
it lightning in a
that was-
bottle. Like that's what
that
it was.
was
We
wild.
call that was as much as we wanted to deny it and say, you know, that the reason the Eagles won the Super Bowl was this, that, or the other. That was a fluke Super Bowl, and I'm so thankful for it. But we won it with a backup versus the greatest quarterback of all time.
maybe God had his.
Exactly. That's what a fluke would be. If God stepping
You
in
calling,
would be what a
you calling
fluke.
God a fluke? Guys out here calling God a fluke on the pod.
If we're talking about divine intervention, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Miracle's a miracle, and he's able to do it. But
And I'm thankful as hell for that miracle, but it is what it is.
So then God like looked down on the field and was like, "Do you want Philly?"
touch.
Is that what happened?
That is.
Heath has been Mr. Tyler Warren himself.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Let's go get a tight end in this round."
Warren went, right?
Yeah, I know Heath has been talking about
14.
Tyler Warren for about 6 months. So I think the tight end conversation. I also had a conversation with Dave Spadero about tight ends. He was talking about some of the tight ends in the back or mid part of the rounds. He didn't believe there were good blocking tight ends available. We were talking about Elijah Arroyo, and I was talking about Ferguson, but it's funny because it was cool to hear him just talking a different light, and he said that he's like, some of the prospects that I talk about, I put it out there in a generic sense. I don't really try to put skill sets on some of these players. He's like, one time he's like, back in like the 90s, I put out a prospect and I said, this player can also give you special teams ability, blah, blah, blah. He's like, then I'm walking around the NovaCare, and then all of a sudden John Harbaugh grabs him and it's like, what the hell you think you're doing? You're putting these skill sets on some of our players, and you're sitting out, you're writing in it. Like, what if that doesn't happen? Then I look bad, and the player looks bad. You leave it up to us to coach these players up. We don't need that from you. And he was like, he's like, and that's what I learned after that. I'll stick to my own lane. But he was very transparent. I thought it was a cool story. But
I liked you having Justin on yesterday. That was a nice change of pace because he was given more in depth on his interviews and his feedback and how he felt about Pierce versus Ezeraku. Like, I really enjoyed that because we've spoken about it, and I know how you guys feel. But from an outside perspective, hearing their point of view for somebody that hadn't talked to us or gotten our feedback, that was a nice change of pace.
Yeah, Justin was awesome. I had a couple people come up to me yesterday saying how they loved his conversation, loved his expertise. Fit for trades says Mason Taylor won't make it so. So maybe Fannin. So I mean, he has a perfect name for his handle, Fit for Trades. Would you trade up for a Mason Taylor? Yes or no?
No.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I think that if I'm trading up, I'm still trying to fill some holes on defense, whether that be an edge rusher, whether that be a safety, whether that be a corner. But I don't see it for a tight end. Not in round 2, at least.
I feel like with the tight ends that are available still, we don't have to move up. There's a core group of 5 or 6.
Would you trade up for Donovan Ezeraku, Boston
Yes.
College?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Would you trade up for JT Tumalau from Ohio State?
I'm not exactly sure how far I would trade up for him.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Would you trade up for TJ Sanders from South Carolina?
No.
I don't think so.
Would you trade up for Nick
way that this-
Worry?
Yes.
Yes.
I would trade up for him more.
How far is this?
I think honestly, like, how much do you think it would cost to move up to like 45?
I will break out my draft calculator. Okay.
That's where I'm at too, Evan.
Because that's I'm kind of thinking the same sort of range where we moved up for DeJean last year. That's kind of my ballpark.
Okay. I'm going to put in our picks here. Doing the math.
Also, keep in mind, there's these people talking about tight ends. I'm telling you, Howie's going after Kyle Pitts. We're gonna get him. We're gonna get Kyle Pitts.
All right. So the 64 pick on the Draft Tech trade chart is worth 270 points. Now you said what? Trade up
45.
to 45, which is 450. So 270 minus 450. Quick math. Who's got that?
270 minus 450 is negative 180.
Okay, so we'd have to give up our 96 pick. Our 96 pick is worth 116 points.
I mean, if it's a guy that you are sold on, that is on the Eagles board, that they want to go up and get, then it's worth it because you're getting 2 guys in Jihaad Campbell and whoever they end up trading up for that are going to probably give you an immediate impact out of this draft.
96 pick and a future 3rd round pick to move
up to where?
Up to 45.
That's kind of steep. When you throw in the other extra 3rd in there, that's kind of steep.
Is it?
I don't know. I think I'd do that. I think I would do that.
Rackcheck says I trade up for Darius Alexander. And then this is now when we talk first round, drafted in guys that are 25. Now, this is a player, and we mentioned that Darius Alexander started late. So he was a late bloomer, was on the offensive side of the ball, then moved to defense. So this could explain his late bloom. Darius Alexander in the second could be, you could talk me into that.
100%. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with the first round is the 5th-year option. That's a huge piece. And when you're going in the second round, you're getting somebody at a reasonable value who has first-round talent overall.
Now, Sean, shout out to Sean. He says if we trade up, it has to be for the safety from South Carolina, Nick Worry, or Donovan Ezeraku, Boston College.
Sean, I agree with you 110%.
Another player no one's talking about is Princely Umanmi Ellen.
Yeah.
This has got to be the most difficult draft names in a long time.
I was just going to say that. There's names in here.
Umanmi Ellen. It's up there. It's up there. Davon says we got great depth in the linebacker room. Love the pick. Yeah, I mean, what is it? 75% of the world is covered by water. The rest is by Zach Vaughn and
Jihaad Campbell. Yeah.
Wasn't Jihad like a meme?
Jihad, yeah. That was
Was it-
during the Afghanistan Iraqi war. Yeah, that's
as
what I was
soon
saying.
as
It was like kind of an unfortunate first name. Whatever.
yeah, I was as soon as I was like, wasn't that a meme back in the day?
Yeah.
Heath says, so is Campbell going to be a defensive linebacker or a defensive linebacker or off ball linebacker?
Maybe he means off ball.
Off ball.
I
And
think
you
he
truly
means
believe
off
that
ball.
I don't know what it no because he says defensive linebacker. I don't know what he means by that.
a defensive lineman?
Jihad is an off-ball
lineman, maybe?
linebacker. He is an
Yeah.
off-ball linebacker.
And do you truly believe that it is who they were watching for, or did they just grab at straws? No, I mean, like pre-draft, I was saying, I was like, there's no need to talk about him because I don't think he's going to make it. I was like, he has the traits. When I say traits, he's good size, he's got the explosion, he's an athlete. I think sometimes if teams feel like a guy's a tweener, then that's when they'll drop a little bit. Do they see him more as a off the ball linebacker or an actual edge? Some teams had him as an edge. You know,
Yeah.
Dude, the guy, his bend is ridiculous. I was watching film. His
Yeah,
bend is nasty.
he's an athlete. You know, he's an athlete.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that like you talk about his wide receiver background too. Like he's a guy that has played edge rusher. He's a guy that can drop into coverage and do well. He's got that wide receiver background. He moves fluidly. I really think he's going to be a key contributor on this defense. He's just going to be flying all over we essentially, it feels like another Zach Bond. Like it feels like we got two Zach Bonds on this team now, which is just a complete mismatch for like you think about in that Super Bowl game. One of my favorite things in that game was just how the Eagles swarmed Patrick Mahomes at any given moment. Like it just the way that the pocket collapsed and
Without
they were
blitzing.
coming from without blitzing and there was no stopping it. It was coming from all angles. And so you throw another guy like Jihaad Campbell that can threaten at the line looking like he's going to blitz and then he just drops into coverage. You have so many guys like that now. It's going to be really hard to game plan against the Eagles for sure.
You know, a good way to also game plan things is, you know, when you're out here doing the Lord's work in the fantasy space, you might want to use an app called Underdog. Okay. I mean, do you ever watch sports and find yourself wishing there was a way to get into the game? Well, let's go. I mean, with Underdog, there's finally a way to make some picks on sports without leaving the house. The game is in your hands, Ev. You know, and you got a new house. You know, you don't have to leave the house. You got the
Can I
Underdog
bet the deed?
app.
Can
Huh?
I bet the deed of the house on a parlay?
You could.
Okay.
But to play, I mean, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, touchdowns, strikeouts, points scored, or more. You know, they got all types of different leagues that you can play in. It's baseball season. Forget basketball in Philly because we don't do the Sixers right now. But anyway, I mean, really, it's you know, you just got to go ahead and download the app. Sign up with the promo code Jawn to unlock a special offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the phone when you sign up with the promo code Jawn, like Fourth and Jawn. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon your first deposit. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
I want to also just put like a little miscellaneous comment out there too, because like it was a thought that I had during the draft last night outside of thinking about the Eagles. But dude, honestly, shout out to Green Bay. I mean, I thought that was a pretty cool setup that they had there. I mean, you had more people that were in attendance there than the actual population of that town where it was taking place. And on top of that, like I thought that the stage setup itself was cool, like having
Love the
all of the
tunnel.
logos
Love the
in the
tunnel.
tunnel. That was awesome, and
That was
like having the guys pounding on the logos, it was cool. It was really cool. So shout out to Green Bay for putting that together.
I was just going to say, I was thinking the same thing. And then also shout out last night. The draft party was ran really well too. Last night. It was, I didn't feel like I was tripping over. I mean, seating's always lacking in that area. We know that. But
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was crammed elbow to elbow. I could walk around. There was some space. There was options to go do things while the other picks were going on with all the trophies being out. I didn't shoot down there because a couple people were making their way and they said, oh, it's an hour and a half wait. Prime and I went right back upstairs. But they did have options. It was really well rounded. That was fun.
Now, Davon says, with safety, are we drafting one or are we going to call up Justin Simmons? I would love to.
I mean, you've been clamoring for Simmons for a minute now, multiple years even. So, I mean, how do you feel? Like if it was Gail Saunders' decision, would you take Imamwari or Mabuka, or would you take Justin Simmons?
I mean, my thing is if the price doesn't come down, then you go with like Makuba because it's, I'd rather get some DTs or some more edge play in here. But if you have a guy that you really love or you're like, we need to get a tight end, if Goddard's going to be back, then my other idea was if you keep Goddard, you wait and get Fannin in third.
One more year.
Because if you get Fannin in here, he's going to give you a different skill set than any other tight end we have in here. He's got yak.
Do you guys feel that Simmons is waiting on speed dial? Do you think the conversation's already had as if like, hey, there's three guys that we know we want, like not sugarcoating it, like there's three guys we're looking at. If they don't get drafted, pick up your phone, brother.
Yeah, and then that could even add a little edge on his shoulder, like, oh, I'm fourth option here.
Well, if they don't get the guy that they want, then they're like, all right, well, we'll call Simmons. Yeah, I think he's a good backup plan if you don't get the safety you want in here, or you're like, bring him in here to compete, and then I'm good with guys coming in here to compete. I'm not like the position is yours either. Shout out to Shawnee says, you think we go after these guys, Edge, Oluwafemi, Oladejo, Jackson Slater, Jadon Blue, cornerback Kobe Bryant. I think Oladejo from Pauline's take the other day, he said basically that he's going to go anywhere from 30 to 45. And Pauline is the guy that told us that the Eagles would draft Cam Jurgens. So in terms of move up, I guess if Oladejo, they really love him like that, he'd be another interesting add to the mix.
Yeah. I think Femi is definitely a guy that is on their radar. Jadon Blue is a guy that, I mean, I had listed when we did that podcast last. I really like Jadon Blue, but I don't think that he's a guy that the Eagles would take today. He might go today in the third round or so, but I would wait until day 3 for him. John brings up a guy that I liked out of Virginia in Jonas Sanker, another option at safety. I thought that he was a decent option, and I think definitely a guy that could be sitting there at 96 if we still don't have a safety at that point.
Let me ask you guys a question. Are either of you really upset of where we're sitting right now? And far as if a guy gets grabbed, are you heartbroken? Like, yes, there's guys that I'm going to want to take, but with all these options and the spots we need to fill, I feel the most comfortable, not confident, but comfortable in where our picks are. If we were to stay, you guys feel the same way or completely different?
I feel honestly like this team is built so well and so deep in so many different places. And just the growth that the front office and this team as a whole has showed me over the past decade or so. We continue to move in the right direction. And I have to tell you, too, it was such a treat last night when we were right before the Eagles pick and they started talking about what teams are notoriously good drafters. And they talked about, the Bills, the Philadelphia, definitely. And it was just like to be involved in that conversation. And they were like, yeah, well, all these teams that continually pick at the end of the first round every year, these are the good drafters. And they're dead right, man. Like the Eagles have been knocking it out of the park recently. And it really is crazy every time we get around to the draft because we live in our own little echo bubble where, we're Eagles fans and we're talking with other Eagles fans. And we all eventually, by the draft comes, we do so many shows that we all think we're on the same page with the rest of the league as far as how everybody sees it. But every team is viewing this draft differently. And they have higher values on guys that you wouldn't expect. And, it's worked out really well for Howie Roseman the past few years for guys that are on their board to just fall to them. Like Mark Bird said, Howie's at the wheel, relax. We're Super Bowl champions. I've got no complaints right now. There's no position group right now that I think is dead in the water and can't be fixed. You know what I mean? Even the tight end thing, even the safety thing, like these are all things that I am not concerned about. If the season were to start tomorrow, yeah, I would be. But I'm looking at this in April. We still got 6 rounds of this draft and we got the rest of free agency. The first time we brought CJ Gardner-Johnson in, it was in August. I have confidence in Howie Roseman putting together a team because he's done a really good job in recent years.
Now today I decided to take my Twitter account back, and I was getting tagged from every Eagles or like farming thing, and you can no longer tag me in photos. So my mentions,
you're untaggable.
I think that was one of the reasons. That could be one of the reasons why I haven't been on Twitter. Is the mentions are like. And then
every time Darius Rucker drops a new album, you're just getting tagged.
Or Timbaland drops a new album. Brandon Graham's uncle or dad, is in. But I was like, my mentions. I'm like, bro, I don't know who are these people. So today I hit the button. I said, you can no longer tag me in anything. But I was like, you did tag me in this post. They said Georgia players on the Eagles. This is a picture, which is a nice little picture. Lewis seen probably one that's not the moral of the story in this photo. But that's interesting. Now you look at the Bama side of things. You got Devontae Smith, Jihaad Campbell, Landon Dickerson, Jalen Hurts, Tyler Steen, Eli Ricks. Which group runs the Royal Rumble?
Ooh, I think the Georgia boys. If I'm being honest with you, I'm looking at that Alabama team. If we're talking about a straight up fight, you got guys like Devontae Smith, who is a hell of a wide receiver, but I don't know how much of a punch he's packing in a fight. When you got guys like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis on the other side, I don't know, man.
If it's cold, forget about it.
But I feel like Jalen can talk him off a ledge. He's like, guys, keep the main thing the main thing. What did he just say? Like he can talk himself out of a butt whooping. Jalen Carter's like, give me my cornbread.
He's that Patty Pimblett thing running around right now. Wait.
I had an opinion before you had a purpose. What did he say?
The hell did he just say after I punched him in the mouth?
I had a purpose before you had opinion.
Yeah.
You liked that, didn't you?
I did, bro. I was like,
when he said that too, I was like,
yeah.
This guy's dropping knowledge. But just want to remind everybody who is definitely coming to the if you just want to hang out, it's a very chill, relax vibe. We are giving away a signed CJGJ autograph.
Very cool. Very cool.
My daughter has a softball game. I said she's pitching. I said you got to strike out the sides, and we got a 10-run this team so we can get back. Starts at 6.
We need a no-hitter tonight.
Yeah, exactly. We gotta motor through this, sweetheart. Daddy's got to be home by 7.
But if any of you guys want to
What
jump
time's the game
on,
at?
6.
I was at 6.
if any of you guys want to jump on, we'll be going right before the draft. Feel free to bring your food. Just I had
The
a
mic
buddy.
before you chew.
Yeah, I had a buddy that's coming in from. He does like shooting competitions down here from Connecticut, coming all the way down. Haven't seen him in years. I said, "You can crash at my place, but I'm not hanging out. I have the NFL draft. I will not let anything get in the way of this day. Okay, I just want to watch the draft. I don't want to do anything else. What is your food of choice tonight for draft?
Me?
Wings.
Still undecided. Still undecided. We're gonna see where the world pushes me.
I had a picture pop up the other day on my memories from the COVID year. We were stuck inside and we couldn't go anywhere. Had a few friends over, ordered a bunch of wings.
Blew up the screen real quick. D Morg says trade up for Amos. How you feeling about that?
That's kind of what Evan said earlier. Like, how far? That's my big thing. Is I would take a trade for him.
You're not giving up a third next year.
No.
Why not?
For Amos, I'm not in love with him as much. I mean, there's a couple guys that in my head I'm locked in on, as Araku, Eamon Wari. Like, these are guys personally that I feel a certain way.
What if they gave up a trade for a particular veteran player on the market?
You're feeling.
You'd rather do that than
yes.
move up in the draft.
Yeah.
I don't know, but you know how he's thinking. Go ahead and look for a contract, rookie year. On the last.
Would you be
2 years left?
Would you be disappointed if they took Will Johnson with the knee injury over Trey Amos?
Not if they feel like they have a higher grade on him, because a lot of draft analysts were like, if the Eagles somehow get like Will Johnson and Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell in back-to-back drafts, they like completely overhauled their quarterback for the next.
What's your thoughts on D Morg brings up? What about trading for Reek Woolen? Is that something that you'd be interested in? I think I'd be interested in Reek Woolen.
He was one of our standouts from the Senior Bowl a couple years ago, and the fact that we were watching him at the Senior Bowl at a practice, and he killed it. We were looking at him like, this dude is like, it's the biggest corner I've ever seen, 6'3" and ran a 4.3. Was it 4.3?
A tall, lanky corner, man. I love it.
The length is crazy.
He's built different. I would listen to that 100%.
Jihaad Campbell, Vaughn in these passing seams, Jalix Hunt, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, all these guys are like, it's a problem. It's a problem. John says I'm liking Johnny Wilson.
Peasy needs a cheesesteak from Hollywood.
Do you see? You could literally freeze these cheesesteaks.
Coming to a parking lot by you,
and then you could sell them.
I don't know if you can. I don't know how good they would hold on the bun frozen, but
I know what you could use for the cover. You and the cat, Lana. Looking at some of your picks from second round, you had Nick Scorton, Donovan Jackson, who's gone.
Who's gone? Yeah,
he's still alive, but he's gone. Mason Taylor.
He's still with us, but he's not with us.
Donovan Jackson is a guy that, like, I mean, I'm not surprised that he went in the first, if I'm being honest with you. With that, with as dominant as he is, with him being able to slide either outside or inside on the line, I think he's going to be a beast. So, not surprised he went in the first.
Who was your biggest jaw drop of the night, where you were like, "What?"
Pick
Maybe.
wise?
Yeah,
I think Booker probably for the Cowboys. Like I just was not picturing him going. I guess because Zach Martin retired, but it just seemed at 12 seemed like really high value for Booker.
I thought I remember when I had mocked when I was at it was my first time having to do like a mock draft for NBC, which was nerve wracking shit. So I picked Zach Martin for the Cowboys. So I had like a little flashback. I said Tyler Booker's. I don't think he's gonna be exactly Zach Martin, but it's that kind of thinking. They think he could be their next guard for the next 10 years. He's a good leader too.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible hairline. Good leader though.
Did you see Micah Parsons' reaction? They got to stop putting him in the draft room, bro.
And he got to stop put himself like stop making it about you.
Yeah.
Get it off the screen. Like now Booker's gonna go in there like,
yeah, like what the fuck was that about, bro? Like, come on.
Yeah.
So my
that was wild.
Yeah. So my second round guys that I had, Donovan Jackson gone, still alive, but no longer with us in draft time. I had Mason Taylor. So that was potential move up, and then doesn't TJ Sanders look like Jordan, our favorite lawyer?
Yeah, he does.
What's Jordan's last name? I don't
Free. JJ Free.
JJ Free. Yeah, I was gonna send it to him. I was like, "Yo, come, let me find out you about to get drafted in the second round." Primo had let's see, maybe I already deleted it. Tim had James Pierce thinking he would go in the second, and then he had Isaiah Bond. We all had the Mason Taylor energy.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think he was picked in every single mock draft you guys it was done on this podcast. I think Mason Taylor was, and he always got like a C- grade in the second round.
Like the first round talk, I was like, nah. You know, I mean, like you see it. You're like first round talent should
jump off the page to you, right?
It should pop right away. It should pop, okay. But before we get out of here, just want to give Tim and Primo a shout out. Shout out to all you guys in the comments. Shout out for all the people that are going to show up tonight. Make sure you bring your food. Do not lip smack in the mic. If you want to join the show, get on the show. Bring a mic. That would be awesome. Headphones would be awesome. Great energy for the draft would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge of the draft would be even better. You don't have to be a draft nerd, but just know what round we pick in.
Having something to say, also,
Somebody just put a comment that definitely will have something to say. Rakshat said he'll hop on.
Shout out to Nick Johnson in the building. If you don't know BTA, and you should follow Nick Johnson and follow the art because the art is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The animation's fantastic. Yeah, Rack Shack is usually the he's logged in the most hours in draft coverage in 4th and Jawn history. Pete Nathan, I think, is up there. I think Mark Bird has logged in a lot of
Tim from Twitter used to join a lot too. Not Tim Armstrong. Tim blanking on his last name.
Tim. Oh yeah. Tim. Yeah. Shout out to you, Peasy, as well. Thank you for tapping in for the draft coverage. So that we'll be back on around right when the draft starts. Look around for your people. Again, shout out to Bud Light for holding us down for all these years in the tailgate. We appreciate you for the suds and the vibes. Shout out to Red Bull for giving the tailgate wings. And also shout out to Felix Pizza for giving Evan Hollywood the wings beneath his cheesesteaks. Shout out to 1675 Spirits. And shout out to Lowski, who's always a real one. That's an inside joke.
Lowski always being a real one.
Shout out to Concha Hawk and Italian Bakery. Honorary tailgate cap.
Yeah.
Crafty Jawn and Jesse _Wines. No, it's Wines Creative now.
Yeah, it's Wine's Creative.
Wines Creative.
Got hacked.
Wines Creative. But we'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, do you have your last word? My bad. Do you have a last word?
I'll just continue with the shout outs. Shout out to both my girl and her family for letting us kind of crash here while we get this house situated. Let me do a little podcast in a spare bedroom, and just looking forward to moving across the driveway over there and getting some actual internet.
Shout out to Lana.
I miss her. Shout out to my girlfriend's sister though for watching Lana while I am a nomad in life right now.
Okay. What about you, Tim? Last word.
Shout out to my wife last night when I was at the draft party. She is in Atlanta, and she got summoned there pretty quickly in the past few weeks. She was supposed to be there with me last night, but she got pulled to Atlanta because she won a pretty awesome award for being one of the top in her field for her company. So shout out to my wife, Sarah, and I'm very proud of her. I was pretty amped up yesterday.
You guys are going to Sizzler?
That's cool.
Dinner, a little celebration.
Maybe Bed Bath & Beyond if we have enough time.
Okay. Is Bed Bath & Beyond still open?
Oh
yeah. The Beyond section is.
Okay. All right. Last word. Shout out to you guys in the comments. Shout out to you guys that are showing up tonight. Again, if you want to get a Chauncey Gardner Johnson signed autograph, we'll come up with a contest, and you'll win that. But for me and the guys, we'll see you guys in the next one. As always, fly, Eagles, fly.
Go Birds. Good thing out.